Hello and welcome to Dusting History. Today on the channel we have this gentleman, Nadar. Showman, photographer, balloonist, journalist, a left-wing agitator and a devil-may-care raconteur. Born in Paris in 1820 as Gaspard Félix Tournichon, he adopted the pseudonym Nadar when he started selling newspaper articles and caricatures to humour magazines in 1842. In 1853 he opened a photographic studio in Paris and was immediately successful, helped undoubtedly by his sense of theatre. He painted the entire outside of his studio red, with Nadar painted 50 foot wide along one side of the building, and his studio quickly became a local landmark and a favourite meeting place of the intelligentsia of Paris. But I'm not going to dwell entirely on Nadar, because what drew me to today's image was his long-suffering wife, Ernestine. Because for as long as there have been photographers, there have been people who dislike having their photo taken. A fact made much worse when you're the partner of one of the 19th century's finest portraitists. This image was taken when Nadar was just starting out, around the time of their wedding. Ernestine was an 18-year-old middle-class girl from Normandy, and Nadar was the 34-year-old Parisian bohemian. Now, speaking of disliking having your photo taken, take a look at today's picture. Look at her face. He's busy play acting and she can't wait for it to be over with. As well as being a brilliant photographer, Nadar was also a passionate aeronaut, and he patented the use of aerial photographs in mapmaking and surveying, taking the world's first aerial photograph from his balloon in 1858. Now that alone would have been a tough gig, but the wet plate collodion process he used required Nadar to prepare and develop the plates while up in the sky in the balloon. It couldn't wait till it got back on the ground. Then in 1863, Nadar commissioned the prominent balloonist Eugene Goddard to construct a 60-metre high balloon called the Giant. The massive balloon was badly damaged at the end of its second flight during a visit to Brussels in 1864, but Nadar rebuilt it and continued on, taking as many as a dozen passengers up at a time, serving cold chicken and wine. Always the entrepreneur, Nadar set his basket up in his studio to take promotional pictures of his balloon flights, and this is one of them. I can only imagine, judging by Ernestine's expression here, how much cajoling he had to employ to get her into that basket. His fame attracted Paris's well-heeled, who flocked to his studio to have their portrait taken, and it kept Nadar in the centre of Paris's intelligentsia for the better part of 4 decades. And he is recognised as the first photographer to capture the subjects as active participants, placing them in natural poses rather than having them pose stiffly and formally. Around that time, the Impressionists were looking for a place to hold their first exhibit. This was in 1874. And Nadar, ever the showman, offered his gallery, delighting in the storm that followed amongst the art elite. His flights in the Giant became the inspiration for Jules Verne's 5 Weeks in a Balloon, and Nadar himself was the inspiration for the character of Michael Ardan in Verne's From Earth to the Moon. In fact, Verne and Nadar established the Society for the Encouragement of Aerial Locomotion by means of heavier-than-air machines, with Nadar as the president, of course, and Verne as secretary. And during the Siege of Paris in 1870, Nadar organised balloon flights carrying mail between Paris and the rest of the world, creating the world's first airmail service. So yeah, Nadar did some incredible stuff. His showmanship was actually backed up by a ton of invention and spectacle. And I don't know what went down in the Nadar household, but judging by Ernestine's face, perhaps someone was too busy mucking around with their boys' toys and wasn't pulling their weight around the old homestead. So here's Nadar looking like a guy who's taking his wife on a pretend balloon flight in his man cave, where in fact he was a guy who did take a lot of balloon flights and invented a lot of things along the way, and really left his imprint on the art world. I hope you enjoyed this slightly different video. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed a little bit more history, or if you'd rather I just shut up and show you how I restore my pictures. Either way, I'd be thrilled to have you along to the next one. Thank you very much.